Hello and welcome to This Week in Laker Football, your exclusive weekly look into the West Bloomfield Lakers varsity football team all throughout the season on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. I'm Tyler Keefe alongside West Bloomfield Lakers head coach Zach Hilbers. West Bloomfield victorious once again on the road last week at Bloomfield Hills, third shutout of the season, third time. It's been 37-0. And that was an interesting game too because Bloomfield Hills seemed to have the ability to hold their own for parts of the game, but when it came time for the big payoff, to score, to finish a drive, it seemed like West Bloomfield, your defense in particular, came up really big. How critical were they to keeping that game going in the direction that your staff and your team wanted to go in week number 8?
Yeah, they did. Thought they did a pretty good job stepping up when it was critical moments like that, because Bloomfield Hills would have some decent plays, some chunk plays, but we always kind of hunkered down, kept them out of the end zone, obviously, forced them into longer field goals than they wanted. They missed a couple and had an interception near the goal line also. But, that's the name of the game on defense. You can bend a little bit, but as long as you don't break and keep them off the scoreboard, you're doing okay.
Pretty even game in the first half, possessions-wise. West Bloomfield 7 to Bloomfield Hills' 5 overall. West Bloomfield had a couple more overall drives than Bloomfield Hills did, but the time of possession was significantly different. Bloomfield Hills right around 27 minutes with the ball in total in that particular game. Usually when you're dominating the time of possession, you have an advantage in the ball game. How did you take advantage of your opportunities, even with less time, particularly on the defensive side?
Well, I think this year we've been a little bit better with our own ball control and trying to win the clock battle ourselves. But one way, I guess, to answer your question, if you're not doing that, is with explosive plays. And we seem to have our fair share of those on offense and a couple on special teams, and obviously the 3 interceptions on defense. So, if you get explosive plays, you can kind of offset time of possession, which, we were able to do.
Another thing of note in that game against Bloomfield Hills, the difference between rushing and passing on the offensive side. The vast majority of that game, you were running the football. Was that by design because of this particular matchup, or something that you wanted to improve on, particularly with the rush game, that factored into that being such a critical part of the game plan?
Actually, no. We actually practiced a ton of downfield passing ideas and concepts because we thought it'd be a good week to kind of test some out, and thought we had some matchups back there we could exploit, and the flow of the game kind of didn't dictate us to call many of them. So, it goes like that sometimes. You can plan for one thing, and the way the game goes, we were running the ball good enough. There was no reason to do much else.
Over the last 3 weeks, pretty typical of this Lakers team too, mostly running, with the only game where you passed more than you ran was actually against the Clarkston Wolves 2 weeks ago, and overall about 650 yards on the ground versus right around 400 in the air during that time period. Something that did stand out against Bloomfield Hills, the secondary played probably its best game of the entire season. 2 interceptions for Christian Banks, another interception for Ezekiel Davis, and it seemed like once the momentum was there for the Hawks on the offensive side, there was the defensive front getting into the backfield. How proud are you of that defensive performance?
Really proud, because we played a lot of guys, and we had guys that we told the guys during practice. There are some guys who hadn't had a chance to play a ton the last couple of weeks. We want to get them on the field, and not only were they out there, they had a chance to make plays, and they did. So proud is the right word, because it's tough showing up every single day if you're not getting rewarded as much as you probably want on game day. And we had a lot of guys step up.
And offensively too, very similar outcome to last week offensively also. Keegan Hickey getting more touches, Dylan Woods getting involved too. Yeah. Now you're starting to get more of those players that are, for lack of better terminology, down the depth chart a little bit, into the game, getting reps with the ones. How important is that to have that happen at this time of the year and get this team even deeper when the playoffs are coming ahead?
Yeah, because you never know. Everyone's always one play away from being on the field, and those guys have some game reps. And we've seen it in practice with them, so I guess it wasn't surprising for us to see, but I know they wanted to do it in a game, and we wanted to see them do it in a game, and we got a chance to do that.
And being able also to get Rayvon and get Shannon involved offensively, they played a pretty big part in the receiving game, especially in that first half when Bloomfield Hills, to their credit, were able to stay in pressure with Willie and stay in pressure with Cam Hall. So having that depth and that ability to go to different targets, really important as you move forward. That being said, 34-0 in the first half. The second half, only 3 points on the board. It was for the West Bloomfield Lakers on a Bryce Coburn field goal. Was that second half more about running that clock out and just getting more opportunities, or was there some other reason, in your opinion, that the scoring was at more of a premium in those final 24 minutes?
Yeah, when you get up by that type of lead, you really start playing against the clock and the scoreboard, and that's something we got to practice for the playoffs. Protecting leads in the second half when we have one. Obviously, maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago at Oxford, we didn't do the best job of that. We kind of lost a fourth quarter lead. So, yeah, it's definitely when we got in the locker room at halftime, it was by design then. Maybe not so much pregame, but when you get in there, you got to play the game you're in.
And it was a big point of conversation in practice late in the week last week, and mostly because of the performances in the last 2 weeks, 2 really tough losses that you had said right here on this program and said to the team, you believed were winnable games in both of those scenarios. Wanting to win, wanting to be a great team, wanting to be undefeated versus putting the work in to make that happen. How do you think that your team responded last week to that mantra, factoring in the practice on the field and then also off the field as they prepared and after that game?
Yeah, it was pretty good, and I think the product kind of backed that up. And we know, this coming week's going to be a different challenge. So it comes with this whole new, set of circumstances and challenges. So it's our job to step up and be ready as we can for the playoffs.
37-0 victory for West Bloomfield, cuts off the losing streak at 2, avoids tying their longest streak in several years, which was only 3 games. Going up one more week, Roseville coming up on the docket this week at home, senior night at West Bloomfield High School. Before we get to that, Coach, your final thoughts from the Bloomfield Hills matchup and the pluses and negatives, things to look at for week number 9.
Yeah, we definitely, you make mistakes. It's always going to happen in high school football, and we're trying to learn from those week to week, and I think we have as a team throughout the year. But I guess the final thought was it was good to see some of those guys that kind of deserved a chance in the spotlight to get it and to be able to make some plays, and a few of them even score touchdowns.
37-0 Lakers beat the Bloomfield Hills Blackhawks in week number 8. Roseville coming in week number 9. We'll get to that in just a little bit. For now, we'll take a break on This Week in Laker Football. One of the stars of week number 8 on the defensive side. 2 interceptions in that game and 1 appearance on This Week in Laker Football for Christian Banks coming up. Stay with us. It's This Week in Laker Football on Civic Center TV. Got to get up to the 5-yard line for first and goal. Colosimo got a pocket, looking up the middle, and it is picked off. Here comes Christian Banks. This time he got it. This time he's got space. He gets up to the 35. Christian Banks, interception number 2.
Carefully managed and sustainable forests are essential for a healthy environment because trees help clean the air and actually help keep Michigan lakes and streams clean too. And not just for the people who enjoy the outdoors, but for the wildlife that depends on it. In fact, every branch of forestry ensures that future generations will always have a tree for life and forests for a lifetime. To learn how sustainable forestry benefits your life, visit michigan.gov/forests for a lifetime.
This is Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Welcome back to This Week in Laker Football, your exclusive weekly look into the West Bloomfield Lakers varsity football team right here on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM alongside Christian Banks. I'm Tyler Keith, Christian, junior cornerback and defensive player specialist for this West Bloomfield Laker team in 2025. Coming off arguably your biggest game of the year, 2 interceptions on the road last week against Bloomfield Hills. What did that feel like for you to have that much of an impact defensively against a team that was starting to feel it offensively late in that game?
I mean, it feels great. Saw a lot of my schoolmates since I used to go to Bloomfield Hills schools, but great to always play them, great to see them. But also, I got to give it to my D-line, really. I mean, they gave pressure to the QB. QB made horrible throws. Went to go get him as a DB, loved those. And also had to give it to the DBs that was guarding the receivers, always making sure they're locked down.
Yeah, every corner likes a good one-on-one matchup in open space to chase down to the ball. You can get in front of it, or if you have open space in front of you, just go chase that football and come up with an interception. You made an interesting point, having been someone that came in from Bloomfield Hills schools, going up against some players you've grown up with in this game. How did that help you adjust to their style of play, knowing some of their tendencies? Did that help you with your performance last week and also help the team prepare?
Yeah, also watching film, I saw a lot of their tendencies and how they like to play. I like that number 3, their best player. That's my guy. Always loved them, but I knew how he was going to play. I knew they had a hot temper, and we used that to our to our advantage. So.
And it helps too, I'd imagine, preparing for that, going up against some of the top talent in the state, certainly some of the top talent in southeastern Michigan in the weeks leading up to that, especially Clarkston, especially Oxford, the way that they throw the football. How did that help you prepare for last week, and how does that level of competition help the entire defensive backs room prepare week in and week out?
I mean, the receivers in our division, they always give good comp. Clarkston, they had some great receivers. Our DBs, always good matchup against them. I'll take our guys over them all day. But going up to this game, it kind of helped us, made it easier, and made it feel like we was more looking on the technique more than just playing hard, trying to get through what we had to do.
And to have a performance like that, especially defensively, third time this season you've shut out a team, third time that result's also been 37-0, but especially after a couple of really tough losses in their own right. How does a game like that for your defensive team especially help you maybe get back on track and refocus for the final week of the season and certainly for playoff time?
I mean, it feels great. It gives us that motivation that we're going to keep doing more. We're going to keep having those 0 to 37 games or 30 or more, hopefully, in the future. And especially with the playoffs coming, we want to have, of course, coming the first round, second round further.
Junior defensive back Christian Bank with us on This Week in Laker Football. The Lakers coming into the final week of the season, Friday night, senior night at the Swamp against the Roseville Panthers, and then it's on to playoff time. And the level of competition that West Bloomfield faces, it's not just on Friday nights against the OAA Red, one of the best divisions, if not the best division in Southeast Michigan. It's every day and every week in practice too. How does that level of competition, defense versus offense, and even just the kind of talent that's on the defensive side of the football, help keep you guys, and you specifically, motivated and improving all throughout the season?
I mean, yeah, offense pushes defense, defense pushes offense, it's even scout team. I mean, every day in practice we go at each other, we make each other better, and that helps with the team chemistry and everything going forward.
Last week in practice, there was a big emphasis on wanting it versus working for it. How did that refocus the team's motivation and even maybe their confidence level going into the game last week against Bloomfield Hills, but especially now as we're heading toward the playoff time, and Division I is relatively stacked this season? I
mean, really wanting it, you could talk about it, you could do anything, but you have to really actions. Like, the actions say anything. Like, you actually have to work toward it. You have to have the communication. You have to talk to your teammates. You have to do all of that. And never, like, you all have to have the same goal in order to achieve it. So that's what we had.
Coach Cam would tell you this, could definitely attest to this. The talent that's come through the defensive backs core at West Bloomfield in recent years. Maxwell Hairston, first round pick from West Bloomfield in school's history. Even recent players like Jameer Benjamin at UCLA, Blaze Rowe at Central Michigan. They've got a lot of really good players that have come through here, played safety, played defensive back, played a little bit of both. How does that also add a little bit of extra motivation, knowing that the coaching that you're getting and the kind of talent that still communicates with the team is able to be there, be a teacher for you, and show you where you can go in the future if you play the right way at West Bloomfield?
I mean, yeah, my freshman year I came in here, I was watching Jameer, Bryce, all those guys, learning how they play, learning their tendencies, learning what I could do better to do my play. And then coming into this, we want to be just like them or even better. We want to achieve what we've been doing, getting those 0 to nothing games, and then just keep achieving, getting those picks.
You had a handful of those shutouts in the championship season. West Bloomfield at 3 already as we head into the final week of the season, hoping to make that 4 before playoff time comes around. And on that note, one more game to take care of business of this week. Can't look too far ahead, but you know you're in playoff season. You know you're going to be playing extra football this year. So now as we get to that point of the season, for you as a junior, certainly for the seniors on this team also, but collectively on the varsity squad, how does that maybe change the dynamic week to week, as you know that this is the time of the year where those mistakes don't just correct themselves the next series or correct themselves the next game, they could end your season?
I mean, it really makes you want to not mess up. I mean, I got to protect my guys, my seniors. I mean, it's their last year playing football. I want to make it their best. And for me, I know if I was a senior next year coming up, I want the same for my guys.
So as you and the players prepare for this week, and as you look toward the remainder of this season and then next season as a senior, being one of those guys in that leadership position, how are you working to take the reins of leadership in the locker room and within the defensive backs core, learning those last little bits from the seniors still here today, while also incorporating your own leadership in there as you improve too and become the future of this team?
I'm always making sure guys are in check. You know, we do that as a team. We kind of make sure we keep our guys accountable. And then I make sure I have a connection with the younger guys to make sure that upcoming kids who are on varsity have like a good connection. And so we have that team chemistry to where every person can keep every other guy accountable. And I feel like that just works.
As you go into the final week of the season and then into playoff time, for you personally, what are some of your focal points as you wrap up the regular season to improve your game while at the same time putting your team in the best position to win week in and week out?
I mean, communication on defense, I feel like we could do better with, but I feel like we already have that mind and goal, and I feel like week in and week out, we work on that, and it's improved over the weeks. And then also, on top of that, my game, I want to get more interceptions, of course, trying to break the record, but try and get my technique down and effort for coming years.
Yeah, ways to go to that record, but 2 interceptions on the road at Bloomfield Hills, a real good way to make some headway on that record. Christian, thanks as always.
Thank you.
We'll take a break. On the other side, Coach Hilbers will rejoin us here, and we'll talk about this game coming up against Roseville. It was a 1-point game last year. Didn't go in West Bloomfield's favor. Put them in a different position going into playoff time. We'll talk about how that impacts this week's game and how this week's game impacts the playoff picture in 2025. Stay with us. It's This Week in Laker Football on Civic Center TV. Blows him out. 3 Lakers getting at him. He throws it up the field. It is picked off. Up in the air and going back the other direction. Christian Banks hauls it in.
You know, earlier in this drive, you see him make a throw where he doesn't allow Shakespeare to make a play on the ball. Right there, he delivers a throw that gives Christian Banks the perfect opportunity to make a play on the ball. Whether it's college or the pros, he gets both feet in bounds and gets the Lakers back to football here at 35 seconds before the half.
I suddenly collapsed. I could hardly breathe. Everything went dark.
I'm gonna help you. I'm calling 911.
Thankfully, 2 wings of light landed on my chest, and I was brought back to life. A stranger, a fearless hero, touched my heart and saved my life. Our hands are wings of life. Learn hands-only CPR. Visit heart.org/CPR heroes.
Watch West Bloomfield Lakers football all season long on 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV. Join Tyler Kieft and Matt Catoni each week for live, in-depth, and exclusive coverage before, during, and after the big game. It's your local high school football team on the road and in your backyard on your home for West Bloomfield Laker football, Civic Center TV, and 89.3 Lakes FM. This is Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Welcome back to This Week in Laker Football, your exclusive weekly look into Lakers varsity football all throughout the season on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Alongside head coach Zach Hilbers, I'm Tyler Kieft. West Bloomfield 6-2 coming into the final week of the season. The Roseville Panthers 4-4 as they get ready for senior night at the Swamp. Same finale to the regular season as a year ago. Different environment, different circumstances this time around, but a very similar team in Roseville to a year ago, even on paper, with many of their veteran players from that season returning this year. What jumps off the page to you as you look at Roseville through these first 8 weeks?
Well, they're athletic. They're really athletic, have a great set of receivers, a couple of backs that run really hard, quarterback that extends plays, and they got some big guys up front that I think are playing pretty well right now. So, I mean, it was a challenge last year. It was probably a great game for a fan and a spectator, maybe not so great for us and for me, but we hope it's just as entertaining, but we're on the other side of it.
Now, circumstances didn't align for us to broadcast last year at Roseville. 48-49 ball game, down to the wire. Couldn't have been a better finale for a regular season game for the fans, and of course, if you're a Roseville faithful, ended the way you wanted. Hopefully a similarly entertaining game in the Lakers' favor in 2025. But what stands out for them, another dual threat quarterback coming in here. Mm-hmm. You've seen those over the last 3 weeks a few times. Yeah. And now you're a little bit more prepared perhaps for Ryan Davis to come in and face you this week in week number 9 to finish off the season. How have those last 3 weeks, especially late last week against Micah Mathis and then the 2 weeks before Alex Wojczenko and Jack Hendricks, help you get ready for what may be the toughest most true dual threat quarterback game plan wise and athleticism wise in Ryan Davis this week?
I think we get a pretty good look at it in the league. Adams is a different style of offense, but those guys are all very mobile. You mentioned Hendricks from Oxford. He's able to extend plays like he did in the last play. I guess not the last play of the game, but their last offensive play. So, we've kind of been tested by guys like that before, and the game plan shifts a little bit for the guys up front and try to how to contain them. But we've played enough of them, and you mentioned Alex and Clarkson as well. He's super athletic. So it's nothing we haven't seen before, but it doesn't mean he's not really good, and we have to take him seriously.
Especially with that core of wide receivers that you mentioned earlier on, the dual threat really does come into play. He's a smart quarterback, too, and makes really quick decisions from looking at him just even last week in their game, a tough matchup for them as well. As you get ready for that game on Friday, defensively, schematically, they do tend to load up the box. And for a team like yours that is so run heavy, how do you prepare your offensive line and especially the skilled players that will be getting the ball for that kind of attack?
Well, at this point of the year, we don't really try to throw a bunch of new stuff out there. We try to be as good as we can at the stuff that we're going to run. You can't just keep adding and adding to the plate, so to speak, especially with high school kids. So it's really about just perfecting, I guess our run game and the play action offense. We think when we're clicking, it's pretty effective. But, what comes with that got us in trouble, some early down penalties and stuff. So how to avoid those with either play call or just body positioning and things like that. That's been our main focus and probably will continue to be throughout the year.
For different reasons, very similar circumstances, week number 9 in 2025 to week number 9 in 2024. Last year, you're playing for maybe a more favorable road matchup to start off the playoffs, given the circumstances you were in then with a really tough OAA. This season, much better record, still a very tough OAA. Now you're in a position where maybe you're playing for a home playoff game, maybe you're playing for a better, more favorable position on Selection Sunday, maybe a little bit of both. How does last year's matchup, especially the fact that it was a one-point game, so close, could have changed the entire paradigm for the playoffs, impact the preparation, particularly the message coming into week number 9 against Roseville?
Well, I guess all the guys that were there last year know, just how close we were. We even took a lead there kind of for a second before a penalty took it away, the 2-point conversion, and ended up going to overtime and losing by 1. So they know how close we were and the fact that we were just right there. And kind of how, if you want to talk about the butterfly effect, how that little moment can kind of change everything that kind of happens after it. So, the guys kind of lived it once, and the way life works is you hopefully learn from those things. And that on Friday night, that any play could be that moment that kind of changes your future, I guess. So we just hope we do it for the best.
Messaging-wise, I'd imagine makes it a little easier to contextualize playoff time coming up when the final week of the regular season is a home game. It's senior night. You can kind of put that into perspective. So how does that also maybe play a role here? Having that be senior night, a night where we look at players that have been on this team, some of them 3 years, some of them 4 years in critical roles. That could be their last home game.
Yeah, it's naturally motivating, I think, for that group of guys. And, the younger guys in the team, we tell them this is going to be you before you know it or not. And so we kind of play for them. And, it's in a funny way is that, we hope that we do a good enough job that we get them another home game a week from now. But, that part of it's outside of our hands. And right now, all we can do is try to send them off with a win and hope for the best we get another one.
Panthers coming into this week 4-4. Lakers coming into this week 6-2, hoping to finish the season 7-2, put themselves in a real good position come Sunday evening at 5 o'clock when the selection show comes into play on the NFHS network. We'll have the broadcast of this week's game for you right here on Civic Center TV. On our website, civiccentertv.com/Lakersports. Kickoff at 7. Our coverage will begin just before that. As we do enter this final week of the regular season, we want to stay focused on week number 9. That's the task at hand, but there's still plenty of football left to play beyond that, and that's where really we see the rubber hit the road in the 2025 season. So as you go into this final week, what is the overall global message to your team facing Roseville and preparing for playoff time?
Yeah, you got us to look at both because, it's the reality ahead of us. So, we're pretty focused on the task at hand, Roseville on Friday night. And what the message to the kids has been that there's a lot of variables in terms of the state playoffs and teams that are playing in the Grand Rapids area and out on the east side that are going to affect the playoff field that obviously we have no control over and nothing to do with us. But they affect the seeding because of the way the districts are going to be drawn. So because of all that, we really focus on just making sure we have the most playoff points possible, hoping we get another home game, and however that falls on Friday night, we'll find out on Sunday.
Pretty big news lastly this week, we'll talk about this. Pretty big news in the high school football landscape on the recruiting side from right here in this building. Travis Robertson changing his commitment from Bowling Green State over to UCLA. Going to go play out in LA with Jameer Benjamin next year in the Big Ten. Very big announcement for him, a huge moment for him and for his family. And then you bring that back to your locker room here where you've had that not be an unfamiliar thing to happen here in West Bloomfield, especially in recent years. What message does that send? Not only the fact that he's going to be playing in the Big Ten, playing at UCLA, playing with a former teammate in Jameer Benjamin, but what message does that send about how Travis Robertson approaches the game and what that could mean for players coming up as they try to be the best Laker they can be and maybe put themselves in a similar position?
Yeah, Travis has been like a model teammate for 3 years in a row that he's been on varsity. He just does a lot of stuff right. He's a great student in the hallways here. The teachers all love him. So to see him get rewarded, it's pretty rewarding as a coach. And I know the team was all very happy and excited for him as well. It's very well deserved, and I'm excited for him.
Big week for Travis Robertson, big week for the West Bloomfield Lakers. Roseville coming to town, senior night at the Swamp, 7 o'clock. We'll have it for you right here on Civic Center TV. Coach, thanks as always.
You got it.
Stay tuned, civiccentertv.com/LakerSports. It's your home for West Bloomfield Laker football all throughout the remainder of this regular season and especially through what we hope to be a very long playoff campaign. On behalf of the West Bloomfield School District, their athletics department here at West Bloomfield High School, and of course, our team at Civic Center TV, I'm Tyler Kieft, alongside head coach Zach Hilbers. Thanks for tuning in to This Week in Laker Football.